Oh my god. Oh my god. S.A. Andes. Holy guys. We'll literally have white nervosa have the text limit for a message. Wait, what is this? I'm sorry for interrupting. I just need more advice. I'm very familiar with previous advice, so I don't want repetitive. So 1, I'm philophobic. 2, my crush is an introvert and very quiet. We're both introverts, but I don't know how to interact with one because I never have. Unironically is an introvert, so I don't really know how to interact with her. Both going through defensive. She's sensitive. No, sorry. Wait, what does philophobic mean? Does that mean dick-phobic? Or is that phallophobic? Did you just misspell that? Because you misspelled other things. Fear of falling in love? Fear of emotional attachment. I've never heard that before. You guys just knew that off the bat? You guys must be having some late-night Google searches, huh? You guys doing okay? Do you know offhand the Latin word for being afraid of emotional attachment? All right, advice. I mean, I don't really know. Like, I'm not really in that position. Like, how do you broach the subject if you're both quiet and depressed? I don't really know how to hit on that. It's difficult, certainly. I mean, really, the critical thing to keep in mind here is that... Oh, here we are. That's nice. The critical thing to keep in mind here is that relationships won't fix your depression. That, like, never happens. Or it happens very infrequently. Depression is usually caused by a number of internal problems that, while influenced by external conditions, can't be, like, directly one-to-one fixed, solved through them. So what I would suggest is you try to find something that alleviates your depressive episodes together. Yeah, I think that's a good way, you know. Like, what makes you depressive, you know? Engage in introspection. Think, you know, what triggers depressive episodes? What, you know, upsets you significantly? Oh, wait, fear of love? Wait. You're depressed by your fear of love? Okay, well, that's kind of an Ouroboros issue, isn't it, you know? All right, are they just responding to what I asked when I asked what it was? Like, just think of doing things. You know what helps with depression? You know what helps a lot with depression, okay? Going outside. Swear to God. Good method, that. Going on a walk. Doing a little itsy bit of exercise. Maybe just invite this person to go hang out with you at a park, you know? Doesn't have to be committal. Fear of falling in love, I don't know. It can be a sort of thing where you spiral into the, I don't know how to justify my existence, and going outside alone can help a little bit, but there needs to be treatment. Yeah, therapy is very helpful, as are antidepressants or what have you, you know, mood stabilizers, whatever works. That's undeniably a very helpful thing. You know, just generally speaking, when tackling depression, stuff like regulated eating, regulated sleep, getting some vitamin D, stuff like that, very, very helpful. Pretty much across the board. I mean, pretty much for, like, everyone, you know. Like, no matter what causes their depression, it's basically like a guaranteed chemical way of helping things a little bit. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again because I'm so cool, you know. What you have to understand is that a lot of the feelings that we have are caused by a set of chemical reactions over which we have essentially no control. People like to feel a sense of autonomy over the things they feel and believe, but unfortunately that is mathematically, scientifically, biologically disprovable. In reality, hormones regulate a lot of our behavior, and when there are changes in those hormones, our behavior, including how we feel, how we react to things, those are also changed, and that can be a chemical reaction over which we have very little concern, you know. So depression can make you think about things that would never bother you. I'm not depressive right now. Right now, I'm not experiencing depressive feelings because I feel good. I feel pretty great right now, you know. So in light of that, you know, things that would bother me when I'm feeling depressive simply do not bother me right now. Oh, you know, it's a big universe and you're but one person. Your death is inevitable, a bloody-blue. I know these things. I understand these things right now, but they don't bother me. It's just part and parcel of life, you know. You get so in odd years to enjoy yourself, do the best you can, and it's no big deal either way. But if I was depressive right now, this would bother me tremendously. This would be very, very bothersome. So You have to understand, you have to detach your feelings from yourself to the extent that you can recognize that they're not necessarily a direct or intrinsic product of your faculties of reason. See, the thing that depressive people tell themselves, and this is a lie, okay, this is cope. The thing that depressive people tell themselves is that when they're feeling depressive, the negative feelings they experience are simply them seeing the truth. That when they don't have these negative feelings, it's just because they've distracted themselves from reality. But when they are feeling depressive, that's the reality, you know. And this is a complete lie. It's completely wrong. It's absolutely incorrect. The thing is, what upsets you is very much a subjective system, you know? What bothers a person? There are some people, for example, there's no better way to look at this than to imagine the samurai, okay? Now, famously so, samurai were very concerned with honor. You know, they're not the only group of people to feel that way, but, you know, they're certainly notable in their commitment to the concept. And samurai would, and this is real, you know, it's not just a joke or a meme or a cultural artifact, they would kill themselves if they feel they had dishonored their bloodline, their family, you know, their boss, their code of conduct. They would kill themselves over it. Now, chat, would you kill yourself over dishonoring your boss? Now, I'm gonna guess that most of you guys probably, you know, jokes aside, probably would not. In fact, the idea sounds ostentatious in our modern world. A person committing suicide. If you heard a story about an Amazon worker killing themselves because they had disappointed their boss, this would be insane beyond reason. It would be frontline news, like everywhere. It would be massive. It's not something we consider anymore. But, well, the point that I'm getting at here is that in both eras, we have rational people with well-functioning minds, you know, people of the Edo period of Japan and people of the modern world. Well, not to say all of us are doing well, but, you know, at least some of us were. But very different things bother us, and the bothering is sincere. You know, you guys are mad because she didn't text you back. A samurai wouldn't know about that. The samurai is mad because, you know, they failed the Bushido warrior code or some shit. Depression is like this in the sense that it too compels us to adopt a completely different set of frustrations and subjects of upsettedness. And you have to understand that. So this is what I told myself when I was depressed. This was the thing that I would tell myself, and this helped me tremendously whenever I was feeling existential, because that's how my depression manifested. Existential thoughts, you know. I would always tell myself, and sometimes it's difficult to actually think the thoughts through, you know, especially if you're, say, high, which I sometimes was when I was depressed, you know, whichever one came to first, you know, it doesn't really matter. What I would tell myself is this: the thoughts you're having right now, you are only having because you are feeling depressive. They are temporary, and when you aren't feeling depressive, they will be meaningless to you. It is a completely temporary state of affairs. It is temporal. It is not permanent. This is not how your brain is normally wired. Getting existentially depressed about depressive feelings would be like, you know, having a cramp in your leg and despairing you'll feel that way for your entire life. You know? Rather than understanding rationally that the cramp in your leg is temporary and will soon pass. And it may well be the case that a life in which the cramp in your leg is permanent and unfixable might not be a life you would want to live, but thankfully, we have a lot of control over our depressive feelings. Not directly, but indirectly, through raising the quality of our lives. Very effective way of improving, you know, people's depressive thoughts, or you know, mitigating them, you know, making them less severe, is simply improving the quality of one's life. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. How do I do that? What, just improve my job like that? Make my family nicer to me like that? Just, you know, all this? Well, you can't instantly fix everything. However, there are basic things that people can work on. There are basic things that people can do, you know. Or to put it another way, depression and suicidality are at record levels today, but people's jobs are not shittier today than they were in the late 1800s. You know what I mean? Like, your life today, I'm willing to bet in chat, your life today is probably better than a coal miner or a textile factory worker circa 1898, you know? That's a guess. I'm probably right, though. Now, that doesn't mean you have no right to complain, but it's worth noting, you know, how did they deal with that? Like, how did they manage living in a world like that? You know, what did they do? And the answer is that, honest to God, there is not a perfect relationship between how hard a person's life is and how good they feel about their life. Does that make sense? I'm not saying, by the way, that they had easy lives or that they were all mentally well. I'm saying there's not a direct connection. Now, somebody in chat just had it right. Community support structure. That has historically been the greatest hope of the poor. For as long as poverty has existed, you know, for poverty as a concept was not born with humanity, it was something we created through wealth inequality. Poverty is something which people have always historically managed through community support. That is the way people handle it. It's a critical element of survival in difficult times. So, you know, back in the day, I think community support was a bit easier than it is today. If you were, and I'll go all the way back to the worst imaginable conditions, even chattel slaves had something which many young people today do not have, which is a sense of immediate community. That's not to say your life is harder than them. It's to say that this is something fundamental that a lot of people today are disconnected from. And I think that's borne out really negatively with regards to people's mental health. Whether you're like the worst regimes throughout history, you know, generally speaking, the poor are concentrated into ghettos, into tenements, where they have to rely on their family and their community to survive. Now, did that make their lives better? No, I'm not saying that. I'm only saying they had a mechanism that people don't uniquely today in an atomized, alienated world. Does that make sense? Is today life much easier? Yes, objectively so. But was there an element to their lives, a component of management that they had that people today don't have as much? That, I believe, is true, yes. That's one of the reasons, by the way, why suicide rates tend to be higher in the white community than they do in the black and Latin community, even when you normalize income levels. One of the reasons for that is because black or Latin communities in America, they tend to be more family-oriented, whereas white poor communities, less so. The family-oriented, you know, the communities have downsides, don't get me wrong. But they do also tend to have a strong community bond, at least stronger than what a lot of white communities have. And I think that there are benefits to that. Supremely Bad Guy, I don't think there's any YouTuber whose audience has their lives together, to be honest with you. Yes, the isolationist strike out on your own community mentality is something I think that disproportionately negatively affects white people in America. In my opinion. This is something I've seen as well, Vaush. I work in EMS and I've noticed white poor communities tend to be more disjointed than those of black or Latin communities. Yeah, it's a real issue for sure. So, if you're experiencing depression, I think you should make an effort to reach out and try to form healthy community bonds. Now, again, a forehead take, you know. Oh, really? Form community bonds? Oh, sure, let me just go do that. But there are methods by which this can be done, you know. This is a basic program that is going to be effective for most people, okay? Whether you're in the city or a rural area, okay? All you have to do is this, okay? First of all, it's important to have basic body confidence, all right? the feeling of worthwhileness in physical space. I know that sounds kind of like a silly guru thing, but it's true, you know? And I think it would help tremendously a lot of people with this if they did basic exercise. Not you have to be skinny, not you have to be muscular, not you have to be bench pressing 250 pounds for reps, just basic exercise. A walk in the park, some basic calisthenics. Get comfortable with your body and the presence it occupies, because I've seen a lot of people have an intuitive discomfort with being around others because they almost feel like their body's presence among others is an aberration. Does that make any sense? I've noticed this with a lot of people who lack in self-confidence, that they're the process of them physically occupying a space can sometimes make them feel like they're at odds with others' comfort, or that there's something wrong, or they're doing something wrong, or something like that. I think that exercising helps a bit with that because it makes you familiar with your own body, which is good. That is a good thing to be, I think. So do that. And then find local social events where you imagine people who you would not hate tremendously will attend, you know? This can be anything. Honest to God, guys, I'm including church here. If it's just a general community thing, if you think like a church might have some cool people in it, community groups, mini golf, local games stores, literally anything. If there's a community that you see and you think, well, these people wouldn't be fucking miserable to hang around with, take a look at that, okay? And then go to said event and have a goal, okay? Have a goal in mind. And your goal is this, okay? Are you ready for it? Talk to a few people. It's not making friends. Making friends is tough and it takes time, okay? Not making friends. Talk to a few people. That's it. It doesn't have to be some big commitment. It doesn't have to be, you know... Look, I'll just say this. There are a lot of people out there who want to stop being lonely, and their threshold is pickup artistry. Because they think, you know, they should be going to a club and picking up one girl a night. Don't be that guy, okay? It's not going to work, and you're not going to be happy with yourself. You have to learn to be comfortable around other people. Go and talk to people. Just talk. That's it. When talking to them, you know, depending on the event, you know, a million things could come up. You know, can't coach you through every imaginable conversational topic, but when you're talking to other people, you know, make an effort to ask questions, to be interested in the subject of you know, their speech, and to talk about things that interest you as well, you know. And don't worry, by the way, about talking passionately about your interests. There are a lot of people who struggle needlessly with this anxiety, you know. Oh, well, my interests wouldn't interest other people. They think I'm weird. Who cares? Don't be so results-oriented, okay? Maybe you talk about something the other person doesn't find interesting. I can tell you from personal experience, okay? Back when I was younger and I was talking with a stranger, the thought that they didn't care about what I was saying or thought I was being weird was agonizing. Back when I was young, the feeling tore away at me. It felt awful. I hated it. Now, and I stress this to you, I could not possibly mean this more sincerely, I don't care at all. Because I realized that person has a right to leave the conversation if they want to. I'm not forcing them to talk to me. I'm not like weirdly insistently following them around. If they so dislike what I have to say, they have a right to leave. And as long as they're there talking with me, I have a right to talk about what makes me happy. You as a person have a fundamental right to happiness. They can't take that away from you. Not with weird stares or with, you know, with a lacking response or with a perceived disinterest. That's something you have a right to, and you have a right to talk about things you care about too. I will say, one way to really help with this is learning how to structure your conversations in ways where the other person always has an out. So what do I mean by that? When I'm talking with people in any context, any whatsoever, whether I'm talking with the auto mechanic who is working on my car, whether I'm talking with a person who I'm flirting with, or a stranger at a bus stop, or a cashier, or anything like that, you know. One thing that I've learned is make sure that the conversation is always going both ways, and that if they aren't putting in their side of things, the conversation can break off naturally. See, I've talked about this earlier this stream, the whole, if a mentally unwell person insistently follows you around and talks to you, you never want to be that person, you know. You always want to be a person who the other feels comfortable disengaging from, you know? And there are a ton of ways to do that, like so many ways. The way you phrase things can indicate to the person you're talking to how okay you'd be with them, breaking off the conversation immediately. So, good ways of doing this, general rule, avoid high emotional energy conversations. Avoid conversations where it would be socially improper for the other person to drop everything and leave right then. Especially when you don't know a person. Small talk should be conducted in such a way that it would not feel remotely impolite from either of you if they were to excuse themselves and leave with no justification, you know. It's true, it's not always easy to pick up on social cues. It's something that has to be practiced, but I believe firmly that anybody who doesn't require a ward of the state, anybody who can take care of themselves, can learn what I'm talking about right now to an acceptable degree, you know. And by the way, the average person is bad at what I'm saying here, so it's not a high bar to cross, you know. We're not talking about the average person is a social Olympian that you're working to outcompete or whatever. Thank you, I appreciate that. People are awkward, normal people, regular ass people, not internet poison people, regular people. They're awkward, and it's okay for you to be awkward too. Don't beat yourself up over it, you know. It's not a big deal. It happens to everyone. It happens to everyone all the time, everywhere. I've had some uncomfortable small talk from Uber drivers, most of whom end up being huge conspiracy theorists. Yeah, I think so, you know. Obviously, you know, results may vary with the quality of the conversations that you have. I'm not going to deny that, but can you give examples? Yeah, okay. Here's a good example right off the bat, okay? If you're doing small talk with a person, try to avoid conversational topics which require you to follow up one sentence with others. That's a bit vague. Try to avoid speaking to people that you don't know that well in ways which lead them to need to follow up on the second half to what you're saying. So an example of this would be, you know, you could be having a conversation and you could launch into an explanation of this, that, the other. You know, you can talk about, you know, something, and then you can end that segment. You can end that. That portion of the conversation with and then you know what else? Now, the problem with that is that there is no socially proper way to then say, oh, I don't care about what else, I need to go now. The problem with an ending like that is that there's not really a good social etiquette for distancing yourself from it. You're kind of making them commit to the second half. You want every element of the conversation to be an invitation to continue further, never an obligation to follow it through to its end. Does that make any sense? Exactly. That's a perfect way of saying it, NRB. Your conversing should be a constant series of invitations. Not like a deadlock expectation that they have to commit to following through on this, that, or the other. I don't think I've changed my mind supremely back there, but I don't remember all the claims made there. I'm good at making friends, but once I have them, I'm such pressure and anxiety to be funny and entertaining that I can't do it. Keep in mind, what do you guys like from your friends? They're constant performative jokes, or do you like the fact that they're just calm people you can hang around with and have a good time? From friendship, people mostly ask for comfort, reliance, you know, a feeling of solidarity and union, an ability to share problems and discuss things. Or to put it another way, if I had a close friend who was very funny and entertaining and energetic, you know, I would not at all mind them taking a week or a month off of their funny shenanigans and being a bit more serious because, you know, maybe something's happened with them or they're not feeling that well. That would not bother me. I would not think wrong of that. I would, however, think quite ill if they took a month off from being a calm person who I could hang out around, reciprocate feelings with, etc. That's the root of friendship right there. It's the union, the feeling of comfort, the relationship, not the jokes and the laughs. The jokes and the laughs happen, and they're fun and they're good, and they should be pursued, but they're not, I think, the core of things. So yeah, being there for each other is the most important. Okay, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I need a hint. Where am I supposed to go right now? I have the grapple hook. I don't know where to go right now. On the Venomous Pond? Okay. In the Dark World Venomous Pond, so that's definitely going to be here or somewhere. Wait, I don't know what a Venomous Pond is. Wait, I don't see any such... This? You need to move the bridge? Okay. Alright, if that's the puzzle, then I'll work on it. Don't tell me anything more. Anyway, what was I saying? So if you're feeling depressive, that's something that you can work on, okay? Get a bit of exercise to feel comfortable in your own skin, and then go attend an event, work to talk to people, and work to make the conversational topics inviting. You know, as in, if they break off, that's fine. And don't be so obsessed with results, okay? Results-oriented conversing is bad, you know? It's like, oh, well, that convo didn't go well, that convo didn't go well. Like, don't worry about it, okay? The most socially acclimated, charismatic human beings in the universe, if they socialize often enough, will still constantly have weird, awkward conversations. It's just part of life. It's not... That's just part of life. The only thing that you should really, like, take to heart or self-check over, I think, is if you're actively making people uncomfortable, angry, disgusted, or any other explicit negative emotion, you know? If they seem a bit awkward or a bit disinterested, that's fine. That's part of life. That's just a normal component of human interaction. If they come off like you're doing something to upset them, like they're reacting significantly in that respect, then that's a whole other thing. But you're probably not doing that. Like, seriously, you know, so many people... It's like those incel forums, you know, where they're like, I'm subhuman, I'm 0 out of 10, blah, blah. And then they post a picture and they look like a normal guy. You know, people are too down on themselves. It hampers their potential. To be honest, Vaush, as someone on the high spectrum autism, I'm lucky to have friends now, but I find that my issue is I naturally have a tendency that if I don't force myself to be social, I feel comfortable. Yeah, a symbolic symbol. There's nothing wrong with forcing yourself to be social now and again. Being social is essentially a form of self-betterment, you know? It's like, in a way, forcing yourself to exercise or forcing yourself to do chores or whatever. Our brains need social activity. That's not a request, that's a demand. It's something we need, and it's something that you improve as a skill. It's something you need to be healthy. So if you need to force yourself to be social a bit, I know that sucks. It doesn't come naturally to everyone, but it's still worthwhile to do so. Socializing with individuals does not come naturally to me. If left to my own devices, I would stay inside and play video games until I died of starvation. I am not a socially acclimated person. I'm good at public speaking, not interpersonal speaking. They're very different things. Worth keeping in mind. But it's still worth forcing yourself to do it now and again. What do you think about those people who try to brag about how tired or mentally ill they are? There were so many in high school. Not when I was in high school. Maybe when you were in high school. It's just performative modesty in a way. It's a way of coming off as relatable to others. Did you see Bastia got ratioed super hard on Twitter for a joke tweet he made? No, I don't know what you're referring to. Your thoughts on self-deprecating humor stands from a few months ago? Oh my god, yes. If you're talking to people, like, randomly, please God do not involve self-deprecating humor unless you know what the fuck you're doing. Holy shit. And you don't know what you're doing, so don't do it. People hate me for being a clingy friend. I don't think they hate you. If you're a clingy friend, doesn't that mean you're a friend? Like, if they hated you, they wouldn't be a friend, right? Well, that's fine. Happy to hear that, QTP. There you go, Royce. Vaush, no, you can 100% be a clingy friend. I'm not saying you can't be a clingy friend. Obviously you can. I'm saying they probably don't hate you for it. They might think it's off-putting or annoying or disconcerting or overly emotionally involved, but hate is a pretty strong feeling. Not a semantic differentiation. I think that's a meaningful differentiation. I think it's possible to be a clingy friend. Disagree with you. Wait, when did I say you can't be a clingy friend? I never said that. Chat, I said probably not hate. I just said didn't hate. Wait, what is the Bastiat tweet? Can I see? I'm trolling, I'm a troll. Okay, thank you. Okay, so yeah, it's a joke tweet, right? It's just clearly a joke tweet. Well, nobody gets sarcasm. I struggle a lot to start conversations, especially with strangers. I just feel like I'm imposing in a way I shouldn't be to start talking to someone uninvited. Well, you should, you should always, make an effort to speak to people when they seem to be available to be spoken to, Maybe practice with people who have to talk with you. For instance, like, if you're shopping, if you're, at the cashier, or if you're at, like, a grocery store, or a clothing store, or whatever, and there's, like, sales personnel there talking to you, I find it quite pleasant sometimes to have, like, a friendly, non-committal conversation with service workers. And when I was a service worker, I enjoyed them too, as long as it was reciprocal, as long as when they talked, I would talk back with a equal level of enthusiasm, and they would talk back. Just talk with them about, like, how you hope their day is going well, and be a bit enthusiastic about it, and just, yeah, simple stuff like that. Practicing in contexts like that can give you a better read on when people actually do want to talk to you. Because service workers, they kind of have to be nice to you, unless they really don't give a fuck. So you have to learn to read between the lines a little bit. So, for example, if you keep talking, they're going to stay with you. So don't keep talking. Instead, allow for long pauses in your speech to see if they're interested in really responding, Do they seem to want to talk to you? Are they staying around of their own will? Or are there clearly other things they want to do? Don't bother them, of course, but I think learning from that can be really, really instructive. And by the way, worst case scenario, and you talk with them for a second too long, they deal with that 5,000 times a day, okay? They're not even going to remember you. Also, sometimes having conversations during inopportune circumstances can still end up pretty good. One of my first fuck buddies was a person who talked to me on the bus and wouldn't shut up, even though I just wanted to watch stuff on my iPad. So, sometimes it works out. Amide, no spoilerino. Go to the dark room, go to the main room? What is the main room? You mean the big, like, Coliseum arena place? Very autistic of you. Being approached by a chick who later fucked me? Is that autism? Dude, autism rocks. Oh, well, there you go, Galley. Galley, don't scare them off. Should I do overly cocky humor with strangers I just met? No. Absolutely not. Don't be braggadocious, and don't be self-deprecating either. Just chill. The only way to get there is to go through here. Alright, hold on. Sure, Blablato, tell me the room I need to go to. Sure. Well, Boxy Box, if you act on that, you can scare people off. What do the blue hallways mean? They haven't been explored. We'll play it, Conk Balls, don't worry. Corvus Grove? We're going to the Corvus Grove? Okay, that's all I want to hear. Corvus Lagoon, Temple Grounds, Corvus Lagoon, Corvus Portal Chamber, Great Roots, Path of Earth, Corvus Temple. Underground temple, Torvus controller access, energy controller items, Torvus Grove. Torvus Grove. Here, really? I thought I've already... Okay, sure. If that's what you say, then I will trust you, Blotto. Because you're risking a permanent ban. I want people to go on my site, please confirm. Also, the chat's here better. I mean, it's literally controlled by me. Directly. Every part of it. I'm right, I fear nothing. Okay. As you say. Command. Anyway, hopefully that was valuable social advice to some of you. I mean everything that I said sincerely, and everything that I have said I have done myself, and it was always an improvement over whatever the fuck else I was doing at the time. How does flirting work? I can navigate conversations fine, but talking to girls I'm on good terms with is like ice skating uphill. Well, it's kind of difficult to say because there are so many contexts in which flirting can take place. Yeah, these fucking guys. Every time you walk in here, now I have to deal with this for a minute. But I'm talking anyway, so no big deal. There are a bunch of different contexts in which flirting takes place. I mean, on Tinder, for example, there's kind of a mutual expectation for it, so you can get away with a lot more there. Like, on Tinder, I think you can fairly, on Tinder, just ask people if they're down to fuck. They're pretty upfront. It's Tinder, Obviously, in person, that is just not the case. I feel like as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate being direct and being blunt a lot more than I did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I felt like there were so many hoops that you had to jump through, because obviously girls are socially incentivized to be gatekeepers of sex and to not give in. Give in. They say give in. Really, girls want sex plenty, and regardless. If you're at an age where you want sex, they also want sex. Everyone wants sex when that's just life, But obviously social pressures and slut shaming and blah blah blah. But as I've grown older, I think I appreciate bluntness quite a bit more. Oh, they really do. It really is just on a timer. I could just run around. I've come to appreciate bluntness quite a bit more. So, a lot of this is going to vary, but Denzium. Oh my god, I'm a fool and a half. I never saw this. This right here is how you get up. Well, silly on me for not seeing it sooner, but there we go. There we go. What was I saying? Oh, right, but with flirting, it really depends on what stage of the discourse you're at, when you're talking with somebody and you're attracted to them. I mean, what level are you at? Do you think there's some mutual interest, or is this just right off the bat you like them? If you like them and you have if you like them and you have an interest in them and they haven't indicated any interest to you, I don't think there's anything wrong with just asking them out. I mean, you can just say hey, I think you're cool. Would you be interested in hanging out and go getting some Korean barbecue sometime? That was a big one in Los Angeles, Korean barbecue. Would you be interested in getting some K barbecue sometime? Would you like to go get some froyo? Yeah, exactly. And you can talk there. There's a lot of maybe super weird. There's a lot of implication. A lot of this is done by implication, really. If you ask a person out to K barbecue, and you say hey, I like you, I think it'd be a good time, I think most people will pick up on the implicit invitation to flirt there. That it's not going to be seen as just you casually saying you want to hang out as a friend. They could be for some people, but I think that because there's a lot of implicit messaging in flirtation, you can fairly rely on the other person picking up what you're putting down. And if they don't, it might kind of be their fault, if you talk to a person, you're hey, I think you're really cool. Do you want to hang out sometime, get some food? And they don't interpret from that at least the possibility of you being into them. I think they might be demonstrating some social unawareness there. Does that make sense? Now, of course, if they don't pick up on it, you could always be more clear. You could always clarify further. Yeah, Raiders, that happens. Doesn't that have a high chance of making them uncomfortable, especially if you're not physically attractive? Well, they can fucking well deal with it. What, just you saying, I think you're cool, would you like to hang out sometime? If that makes them feel uncomfortable, and because you're not attractive enough or they're not into you, that's their fucking problem. As long as you're not being weird, and there's nothing weird about saying that, by the way. I think you're cool, want to hang out sometime. I don't think that's weird at all. Unless there's some really strange associative circumstances, like you're their boss. Or they're a student, you're a teacher, you know. Excluding some weird edge case shit, you know, you're their friend's dad. Like, yeah, it's shit, whatever. Outside of that, assuming everything else is reasonable, if they have an issue with that, I think that's their fucking problem.